Well, hello, Toreros, near and far, far and near. It is Monday, the 8th of November. We are on the verge of week 11 in Lead 663. And I hope all is well with you. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're really making some serious progress on your lit review. 5 weeks to go. Just remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, you don't have to cover everything because you have, when you can add things in, when you're doing your dissertation proposal, you can add things in when you're doing your dissertation. So you don't have to have it all, okay? And you just need to make sure that you're covering 2 or 3 areas and that it kind of makes some sense. You introduce what you're going to be talking about and then take us through it, okay? I don't have a lot this week because this, what we're doing this week? We are having our one-on-one meetings, our second round of one-on-one meetings, which I'm very much looking forward to. So I can talk with you personally about what it is you're doing and how you feel and, where you are. And if you're having any challenges, any problems, we can take care of those immediately. So yeah, I look forward to these chats. And as I mentioned in the first weeks and weeks ago, it seems that in part having these one-on-one meetings with each of you is a little selfish on my part because I don't get to be in a classroom with you. I don't get to see you on a regular basis. So at least this way, it makes the distance between us a little bit more palatable. Okay, so I do hope you're feeling. I get a few little things on my card today. It's tough. You're as we've talked about. This is you're transitioning to, you've been or in the process of transitioning. So I guess you are transitioning by default from your academic coursework with structure to now you're in a semi-structured environment, and you'll be semi-structured this, through the remainder of this semester and then next semester when you're working on your dissertation proposal. So, it's good that you have this transition because now you're becoming, now you understand what it's like to be a scholar. Now, oftentimes you work with other researchers on a particular study. And, here you are working, you don't get to work with other people directly on some solitary, a single project. Many of you are coming together and adding your areas of expertise and things of that nature. So you're doing it by yourself. And that's, there certainly is a pleasure in finding things out on your own. There's certainly pleasure in working through and discovering things that you didn't know before. There's pleasure in just, a process where it's you engaged in all this literature, and trying to make some sense out of it. So what I do hope throughout this process where, 11 weeks in, I hope you're finding yourselves to be more scholarly, more academic, okay? This is part of your kind of, it's not really professionalization, but it's more academic professionalization, I suppose. But it should be enlightening. It shouldn't be drudgery, okay? It should, that's, if you find this process to be, it's just like it's just trying to find literature and trying to figure out what it means, trying to put it together, if it's that kind of drudgery, then you have to kind of rethink where your head's at on this, and consider the joy. Reframe your thinking from drudgery to joy, to finding things out, the pleasure of finding things out, as I've said over and over and over again. This is it's difficult. It's okay. It should be an enjoyable process, but it's difficult. It's time consuming. Um, and that's, that's just part of what this is about. And the hard part, I think, is finding literature and having so much and trying to distill it down into its bare essence. And it's a challenge because you can go off in so many different directions. And the reason why we set up we set up these really clear, concise outlines is so that you don't go down those rabbit holes. That you start and you kind of focus your way down from sort of the introduction down to the to some kind of logical, you know I was not going to say conclusion, but some kind of logical end point that pulls everything together. Okay, so let me share with you. I think, that's probably enough. Let me share a few little tidbits with you. Okay, so just hang on one momentito. Now, see, this is the tricky part. It's always like, okay, here we go. This is working out better than I thought. Okay, so again, here we are, week 11, and oops, got a little bit ahead of ourselves. Okay, sorry about that. Sometimes I have a hard time with the technology. Okay, so we are on this. There is only 3 slides in this PowerPoint. This is the first one, and I thought, I was looking for something to inspire you. Okay, I was looking for some kind of inspirational quotes or something that I can give you that would be, yes, you can kind of if you're kind of down in the dumps, if you're in the doldrums with all of this, something that would uplift you. Okay, so the first quote is by this guy named Jim Olaf. I don't know Jim Olaf from Adam, tell you the truth, but I saw this quote and I thought it was pretty good, and it's on the literature review. Okay, so what do this is kind of what you're this is kind of way to frame your thinking, to how to conceptualize this if you're overwhelmed with the literature, if you're overwhelmed with the writing. This pretty much simplifies it. Okay, what do researchers know? What do they not know? What has been researched and what has not been researched? Aha, the gaps, which is what your study will fill. Is the research reliable and trustworthy? Okay, that's a big question, because if you're reading things that you certainly do not believe, then you probably wouldn't want to put them in your literature review. But then if the research you're reading is not, you don't find to be reliable and trustworthy, well, that is another kind of form of a gap that can be filled. You can, through your study, you can make the research reliable and trustworthy. What are the gaps in the knowledge? Aha. When you compile all this together, you have yourself a literature review. So, it's in your thinking through this. Okay, what do the researchers know? So you're going through this body of knowledge to find out what people have studied in the past, the research that's been conducted, and what's known. Okay, and by virtue, sort of the other side of the coin is, if you know what they do know, it's more likely that you're going to know what they don't know. Okay, if there's something that just hasn't been covered, it's like, well, if you have questions, if you're reading some literature and you say, well, why aren't they talking about this? Why aren't they talking about that? It's probably because they don't know about this, that, or the other thing. So what do they not know? And this is where, again, what's been researched, this is what you're going through. You're going through to see what's sort of the line of inquiry in your particular areas of interest. Okay, and certainly, you want to make sure that the literature you're reading is based on the methods used. I think when they talk about reliability and trustworthiness of research, they're really getting at the methods that are used and whether the methods used are rigorous enough to answer research questions. And then this, it's kind of, I see there's a little bit of redundancy here. Okay, you notice, so what do they not know? What are the gaps in the knowledge? Well, that's those what they don't know, what they don't talk about, and the gaps in knowledge seem to be one and the same thing. That's what I would think anyway. So then when you put it together, nice tidy little package, you got yourself a lit review. That's good. Okay, so this is by Raewyn Connell. She is an Australian sociologist. I don't know her from, again, I don't know her from Adam, but I saw this quote and I went, this is inspirational. Research is something that everyone can do and everyone ought to do. It is simply collecting information and thinking systematically about it. Okay, does that ring true? I think it does ring true. If I can do research, you can do research, and you're doing research now. You are doing it. You're part of the everyone who's doing it. And you are collecting information and you're thinking about it. You're putting together what your knowledge and you're systematizing it. You're putting it together, you're collating it and putting it together in some systematic way, following this outline that you created that gave you the structure, and that takes you from the introduction down to some logical final point, like we've talked about. Now, this is getting a little bit of hippie. Remember I said, let's not talk about your study. Whoa, can't talk about that. No. As for the future, this is from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Remember, if you read when you were in high school, maybe your college, I don't know, but Petit Prince, the Little Prince. Okay, this is the great French author Saint-Exupéry. As for the future, your task is not to foresee it, but to enable it. Okay, so the reason why I picked that quote is because this is through this literature review process, through going through this literature and finding what's relevant to your potentially future study. Okay, so the literature review takes you to a logical place, right? Which then enables you to create a study to answer your research questions, which came directly from your lit review, right? So your lit review leads to, you see what they don't, the researchers don't know. You see where the gaps are. You say, okay, the objective of the aim of my study is to fill this gap, that gap, that gap. And then here are the questions that are going to answer, that's going to allow me to fulfill my objectives, okay, of the study. So you have these questions and perhaps hypotheses to be tested, which then leads directly into your research, into your design and procedures and all that stuff. So this literature review enables that. This leads to that. Okay, so that's kind of a good place to kind of start to end our quotes on. But I think, they're good, they're salient. Read them, and try to embody them. Okay, embody the spirit of these quotations. Okay, you don't really have to do that. I'm kind of goofing around a little bit, but they are salient, they are relevant, and each of them makes a really good point. Okay, all right. Last slide here. Last slide. Hello. Okay, there we go. All right. Like I said, this is the week of one-on-one Zoom meetings with me. It's not when I was writing up my little slides here, I threw in Skype just in case. Skype was a format you wanted to use, but Zoom is the way we go, right? So this is just, again, one-on-one Zoom meetings to chat about your lit review. I don't think it's going to take more than an hour, probably less. If we can hold it to under an hour, that's good, because you're busy with work and scheduling and all this kind of stuff, and still writing, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's important that we meet, and it is part of your your class engagement grade, if you want to. I guess that's what I call it. I have to go back and look at the syllabus. So do email me available Pacific Coast times, no later than 6 p.m. on Thursday the 11th. Sooner if you can, so I can send out the invites. Ooh. Again, it's me time. Continue working and making progress on your lit review. And what I'm going to say next, so I'm going to say it. You can read it for yourselves, and I've been saying it over and over, so it's like, don't tell us anymore, Sheldon, you're too much. It's interesting, because I speaking of this, the last point on this, I've talked to some of your colleagues, and who have said that this, actually having this 1 hour a day, really, really helps. Because it's part of kind of it's not only you're structuring your time, but when you're structuring your time, you're structuring your thinking. Okay, so because remember, clear thinking leads to clear writing. Am I right? Yes. So having that, in all the busyness that you have in your lives going on, just having that hour when you can produce, something of value. You're creating value, you're creating knowledge, you're creating knowledge for yourself, and you're creating knowledge for others, because I'm going to be reading them, and your faculty members who then read the part A, from which is derived directly from the literature review. So you're kind of doing two things at the same time here. You're not reinventing the wheel, which is a good thing. And that's the way that this has been set up, is that you've got if you're doing the lit review, when the lit review is turned into your part A, you're doing two things you're doing two things that are for one that serve. You're doing one thing that serves two purposes. So that's pretty good design, I think, of this course. It wasn't my idea, truth be told. It was the idea of the powers that be, shall we say. But people think about these things, and this is when they're kind of thinking about how to move you all through to your dissertation. These are the kind of things. The sequencing is really important, and how things build one on the other. So I think it's pretty genius. Yeah, so I think this having this 1 hour time period, if you can, that it does make sense, and it does help. I mean, it's not always possible, I know that. And that's the way it is. And you find your own place, and you find your own space and place and time to do the things that you have to do. And and whatever works, whatever gets you through the night, so to speak. That's even if I suggest an hour a day in the same place, same time, it may not work. And if it doesn't work, that's and you find your own way, and it gets the job done. That's perfect. So with that, I think I was gonna say something else, but now I can't remember if I was gonna say anything else. Let me get out of here. Get out of the stop share. There we go. Yeah, I think that's about it. I do appreciate the fact that you're you're busy, and you have other things to do, as well as doing a literature review, and that some of you are in some fairly precarious situations in for our international cohort, where you are. And so don't forget that we're wherever you are in the world, we are certainly with you. We at USD and Department of Leadership Studies, we're certainly with you, and we want the best for you. And we always wherever you are in the world, be safe, be healthy. Okay. That's more important in the grand scheme of things. If you're safe, you're healthy, if you're in a difficult situation, the review is something that it becomes a secondary consideration. So safety first, right? All right. If you have any questions or comments or need anything from me, you need me to read drafts along the way, certainly send them my way, and I certainly will do so. That's what I'm here for. Like I said, this is a heavy feedback course. It's not a big lecture course. I mean, I try to use my little weekly videos to impart some kind of knowledge. I don't know if it works. I don't know if it helps, but that's the intent anyway. So with that, I do wish each and every one of you well. I hope that you're thriving where you are. Hope you're enjoying the process. And don't forget, email me as soon as you possibly can to get those meetings set up. There's 13 of you, so we've got 13 time slots to get it done between. This is going to go out tomorrow, so tomorrow, which is Tuesday, for some of you, which is Wednesday. So this is going to go out tomorrow, and then let's go ahead and schedule meetings. As a matter of fact, I'm here all week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here all week, and if you can see my calendar, look at that. Free. We are free. So that's a good thing. Get all that big block of time available to chat with each of you. And remember, if you're in different time zones, that's fine. We'll as we did in sort of our first set of meetings. We can find time zone. We can work around the time zone issue. That's not a problem. So with that, I will bid you a fond farewell. And this week I can actually say, I will talk to you soon. So don't forget, let's set those meetings up and let's have a chat and let's see where we're at and see what we need to do, and what we need to focus on. And because we're, 5 weeks is plenty of time. Okay, it really is plenty of time to get this really in really good shape. It doesn't have, like I say, it doesn't have to be perfect. So, because perfection will come when you do your dissertation proposal and your dissertation. But, it needs to follow APA format. It needs to be in good shape. Okay. With minor imperfections, that's fine. So, all right, everyone, I will literally talk to you soon, and take care of yourselves. Be safe, be well, and Godspeed. Ciao.